Hello, I'm Margaret Molly Brown. I'm here to share a book with you, and it's a story about American women who have changed the world. And this is a book that illustrates 13 different women, and I've decided and I picked out 8 of them that I'd like to briefly tell you their story. This is the book. It's called She Persisted, and it is written by Chelsea Clinton. Sometimes being a girl isn't easy. At some points, someone probably will tell you no, will tell you to be quiet, or may even tell you your dreams are impossible. Don't listen to them. These 13 American women certainly did not take no for an answer. They persisted. Harriet Tubman was born a slave, and her story can have ended there. Instead, she persisted, escaping from slavery and becoming the best famous conductor on the Underground Railroad. She risked her life many times to lead countless slaves to freedom, including her family, friends, and strangers. Every person she led to freedom arrived safely. Some of you might have heard of her. Her name was Helen Keller. She became blind and deaf as a toddler. Few people thought she'd be able to learn to read, write, or speak. But you know what? She persisted. Helen learned how to do all 3 and not only became the first person with deaf blindness to graduate from college, if you can believe that, but she used her story to help fight for more opportunities for people with disabilities in the United States and around the world. She once said, "One can never consent to creep when one feels an impulse to soar." The next is Clara Lemlich. After her family fled poverty and the threat of violence in Ukraine for a new home in New York City, she got a job working at a garment factory. She wrote that the factory's conditions made women into machines, and she persisted, organizing picket lines and strikes that ultimately helped win better pay, shorter hours, and safer working conditions for thousands of workers, both women and men. She once said, "I am one of those who suffers from the abuses described here, and I move that we go on a general strike." Next is Virginia Apgar. She was inspired from an early age by her brother's childhood illnesses and was determined to be a doctor long before many girls had such dreams. Even though she qualified to be a surgeon, the male head surgeon at her hospital discouraged her because she was a woman. Nevertheless, she persisted, becoming an anesthesiologist and creating the Apgar score to test a newborn baby's health, which hospitals all over the world still use today. She said, "Nobody but nobody is going to stop breathing on me." This one I really like among all of them, but this is Maria Tallchief. Her family moved to California partly to support Maria's dream of becoming a dancer. She was teased by students in school for Native American heritage, and later was encouraged to change her last name to something that sounded Russian, parentheses, since many professional dancers at that time were from Russia. She persisted, ignoring all the taunting and poor advice, to become the first great American prima ballerina. She said, "It never occurred to me to say it hurts to do that." Claudette Colvin. As a 15-year-old riding a bus home from school in Montgomery, Alabama, she was expected to give up her seat to a white woman just because she was African American. In her refusal to get up, she persisted in taking a stand for what's right, helping to inspire Rosa Parks to make the same choice 9 months later, an act many point to as a starting point of the modern civil rights movement. She said, "I knew then and I know that when it comes to justice, there's no easy way to get it. You cannot sugarcoat it. You have to take a stand and say, this is not right." Some of you may have heard of this woman, Sally Ride. She also believed women could succeed in math or science career. Although not everyone agreed, she persisted, and she became the first American woman in space. She became quite excited about this accomplishment, but that wasn't enough for Sally. She traveled into space once more and then created a science and engineering program specifically for girls, so she could help generations of women achieve their dreams too, both on Earth and outer space. She said, "Young girls need to see the role models in whatever careers they may choose, just so they can picture themselves doing those jobs someday. You can't be what you can't see." Last but not least is Sonia Sotomayor. Watching fictional judges on television inspired her to want to be a real-life judge when she grew up. She knew she had to speak English as well as she spoke Spanish, studied hard in school, and managed her diabetes before she could one day wear a judge's robe with a gavel in hand. She persisted, eventually becoming a Supreme Court judge and the first ever Latina to sit on the highest court. These stories of these great women, and there's so many, many more, are an inspiration to all of us. Some of them in my time when it was extreme inspiration. I recently talked in another video about Susan B. Anthony. All these women should be an inspiration to you, because listen, girls and ladies, we can do anything we put our mind to. Thank you so much for joining me with my story.